Yo, what's good, y'all? Your boy Justin Henry here, going over week 6 fantasy football. There was a lot that happened this weekend. But yes, going over all the games. Heading into week 7, some waiver wire pickups that I got for y'all. There's a lot of options when it comes to waiver wire. So I'm going to go over them I'm going to kind of recap some of the games from week 6. And then as far as buy or sell, if you guys got trade questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. And then if you guys are looking for more on my journey as far as like where I'm at in Europe or whatever, you can always follow me on Instagram and on IG. I have updates as far as in my stories and where I'm at. So want to thank y'all for hopefully y'all had a good week 6. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got some wins. Things are kind of evening out. So we're able to see like things happening. Also some big injuries to talk about. So let's get into it, y'all. Daniel, what's good? He said, what's good, Jay? Had to get in here early. Hopefully you and the fam are all good and blessed. Everything is blessed, bro. Blessed right now. Very much in a major way. Jay, hope all is well. Appreciate y'all. Any good receivers to pick up for the bye weeks in the 12-team league? So we got 2 teams on bye. We got the Ravens and we got the Bills, both on bye this week. And I do got some good receivers to pick up. You got to think, it's going to be kind of risky, but you have plays like with Garrett Wilson out. Obviously a bump up for like a Josh Reynolds. Not somebody that I truly recommend just there. With Calvin Ridley banged up, you have Elike Manor. So option there. Christian Watson is on his way back from Green Bay. So that might be a good play there. Like there's a Puka Nakua's hurt. I don't know if, you're a Tutu Atwell or Jordan Whittington, but there's going to be options there. So I think as far as receivers go, there's going to be plenty of available like flex worthy. I got some players on bye. But, I mean, the receivers that are on bye this week aren't that good anyway. You got, like, Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman, and you got DeAndre Hopkins and Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. So it's not like you have, like, crazy amount of receivers hurt. Hopefully you got enough to get you through this week, unless you're dealing with one of the guys that had injuries. Emeka Ibuka's out, so you got, like, Tez Johnson. And, like I said, there's just a lot. Mike Evans on his way back. There's a lot there. Should I move off of Godwin and Keon if my bye apocalypse is week 8? I'm not mad at that because Godwin is not playing. So we're not going to – the first we will see Godwin, I think the Tampa Bay bye is – the Bucs have a week 9 bye. So for sure Godwin is out next week. And there's a high probability he'll miss week 8 as well, like just how early they announced him out for next Monday. So for me, yeah, like I'm good with moving off of Godwin if you could trade him, or if you're, you need the wins. And then as far as Keon Coleman, he's not really worth rostering right now anyway. Just being completely honest, he's not really worth rostering. Dan said, I had neighbors go down sitting at 2-4. You got Fields, Caleb. Okay, Fields, Caleb, BTJ, Sutton, Marv. So good receivers, Brees, Kamara, Rashad White, Mike Evans, Gainwell, Moore. Any moves you think I should make or player targets? I feel like you have good pieces, right? Like, so you've probably been in this like Justin Fields, Caleb, like Fields, honestly, after last weekend with no Garrett Wilson is going to be a tough player to trust until Garrett Wilson comes back. As far as Caleb goes, though, like Caleb should be a rock solid starter every single week. Even with Justin Fields, like his up and down tendency, it's just you're 2-4. Like maybe you try to move, you're not going to get much for Fields now, but I feel like if he has a good game, maybe you try to move him in a future week. But for now, just rock with Caleb. He's already had his bye. And then Brees is going to be kind of up and down. Kamara, unfortunately, is up and down, especially you see Taysom Hill kind of taking that touchdown away from him. So, and then once I think Rashad White might be a player to try to get rid of because Bucky will be back in the next, week or two. Bucky's out for week 7, but probably after the bye for Bucky as well. So, I don't know. I think you kind of need wins, unfortunately. So you can't really trade high on Rashad White because you kind of need to win the next 2 weeks. So, I don't really see a whole lot of just moves here to make. You kind of need another receiver. Though. I ain't gonna hold you. You're lucky Mike's coming back. Hopefully Mike is coming back on Monday. Holder package, Dowdle, Kamara, Swift-Worthy, and or Pittman to go after a player not playing well. I think Dowdle to me is an interesting case. I want to go over the games really quickly though. But I'm gonna go through a few more questions. But I want to kind of go over the games because Dowdle is very interesting to me because you come off of a 200-yard performance. You're like, okay, cool. That might be a sell high opportunity. You come off of back-to-back 200-plus total yard performances. The coaching staff got to find a way to get you on the field. Like they have to. So I kind of feel like it might be a committee, but I mean, you can't just Chuba Hubbard didn't lose his job. Like that's the strangest part of this whole thing. So I think there will be some kind of committee. I think Dowdle will get the first opportunity just because the way he's playing. I don't know, though. Your guess is as good as mine. I think for now we see a committee with Chuba Hubbard and Dowdle, and maybe they rock with the hot hand. I just don't know how you can get rid of what Chuba Hubbard's been doing. Excuse me, what Rico Dowdle's been doing when Chuba gets back. That's the only concern I have. So I think as far as trading him, if I could trade him as a top 15 back somehow, I would package him up in that aspect, but he's just been playing too good to like completely demote. As far as Kamara goes, I really like Kamara as a player. I think it's going to be tough to trust him fantasy-wise this year, unfortunately. That's just the nature of what it is this year with Alvin Kamara. So I think any of these backs, DeAndre Swift's a good package. The only thing is he already had his bye, so he's also a good player to Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift, Bijan. You start to think of these players now that have already had their bye, your value goes up. So always remember that in trade talks. I think that's something the savvy players in your league are going to try to do that. They're going to try to trade away a bye and trade for a player who has already had their bye. And it gives you really good, like, imagine a player missing 2 games. That's exactly what that does because you're trading away a game. You're also picking up a game. So be very careful in trade talks for players. Like if you're trading away a player that already had their bye, just make sure you're getting back a player who already had their bye as well. You're not eating 2 different buys. But yeah, I think any of these players are worth trading. Dowdle, sell high. Yeah, like I said, let me go over the games real quick. Enjoy Euro, bro. Appreciate you. BR, appreciate you, bro. Should I be worried about JCM? Yeah, he's an RB2, bro. He's an RB2. And if he doesn't catch passes, he doesn't score a touchdown. That's the only problem with backs like JCM is he's not going to have many. I'm not going to say he's not going to have many 100-yard games just because he's not that kind of player. I know everybody's excited about him, but most of the time for JCM to be a 15-point player, he's going to need to catch, probably score a touchdown, to be honest with you. So that's the hard part about him. Like Dameon Pierce, you got those kind of Cam Scatterboo even, like he had 3 touchdowns, but that's the problem is that they're not going to have many like 100-yard, 150. So they're RB2 range, not like I'm not going to say never, but it's unlikely for him to be RB1 worthy. Think like Isaiah Pacheco, backs like that. That's what JCM kind of is. Where the intro at? I got to get a new intro, bro, because he's talking about AR-15 and this dude cabling himself in the face. Like, what is going on? How's AR hitting the IR right before the start of the game? But yeah, I got a line in there, AR-15 about to change the game. He ain't changing shit. All right, last one real quick, and then let me get I'll get into some more of the questions and shit that came in. I see one more I got to get to, but Jahan, how about the Falcons, bro? I had a team where 4 of my players combined for 13 points with JT, JD, JSN, and our guy Bijan, bro. Like 80-yard TD to the tilt, like. And the thing is, what's crazy is that could have been a much bigger game for Bijan, for Drake London, and for Michael Penix. It's like that second half was just so slow offense-wise. Like that could have been a mega game for the Falcons offensive players. So I don't know. I get in this like weird thing with the Falcons players because I feel like that ceiling should be way higher than it is. It's like I feel like with Penix, they're scared to just like let that motherfucker. And you're without Darnell Mooney, you're without Ray McLeod, your offensive line's banged up. So I get it, but like, man, it's exciting, bro. I got the Falcons hat on and everything today too. I should have wore the Bijan jersey. I actually brought it out here with me. Would you move Rico for Brees? I don't know, bro. I probably would. Just being honest with you. Like I would move. That's the kind of move I'd make, but that has the potential to backfire because Brees has been so up and down too. Like. I think Brees is kind of an RB2 land, unfortunately. I thought he'd be more RB1, but it kind of feels like he's more RB2 land, especially if Garrett Wilson's out. This offense ain't really going to move. So that's the one concern I have when it comes to Brees Hall. But I would do that deal. Rico for Brees, that's a J-Hen. That is definitely a J-Hen move. All right, let me go over the games real quickly. I'm going to talk week 6, and then I'm going to get into waiver players. I started kind of talking about – actually, let me do this because I know most of you guys probably want waivers. let me go over some players I'm thinking of for waivers, and then I'll get back into the games. All right, I got a little bit of time today, not a whole lot. I'm going to be doing something fun tonight. I'm going to a football game tonight. So that'll be my first time going to a football game. If y'all really know what I'm talking about, I'm going to a football game. So that'll be fun. I'm going to share some video on that here a little bit later tonight. So pickups. As far as pickups that are available right now, obviously Kamani Vidal, Hassan Haskins, if you're worried about that, we got the answer this weekend. Kamani Vidal got in the end zone, had a 100-yard game. Go get Kamani Vidal. He's the back to own. As far as the receivers for Tampa, I'm not sure if Mike is coming back. We already know Godwin's out. It's expected Emeka Egbuka is probably going to miss a few weeks, probably come back after the bye. They have a bye. It was week 9, we just said. So probably coming back after the bye, I would guess. If I had Emeka Egbuka, I'd be planning for him after the bye. But who do you get? You get Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepard, or Cameron Johnson, who, all three of those guys are going to be kind of mediocre options. I kind of would stay away from this Tampa receiving core. I talked about this with some of the other teams. It's tough because you'll get a player that has a strong performance and looks the part, and then somebody else comes in and throws a wrench in the whole thing. So I think when it comes to Sterling Shepard, probably the safest. Tez Johnson, to me, has the most upside. He only had 3 targets in the game, but he did catch a long touchdown. It seems like the team is kind of excited about him, though, Tez Johnson. So I feel like Tez would probably be the one that I would want out of all 3 of them. And then Cameron Johnson's probably a distant fourth in that. But I think Mike, or like Cade Otton, to me, kind of has a little bit more potential there. So I think as far as the receivers go, I'd want Tez for the upside. But if Mike comes back, I kind of think I'm not really excited about any of them, to be honest with you. As far as tight ends go, there's a bunch of available tight ends, I think, that are kind of mediocre right now. It just feels like there's a lot of tight ends available. Like Michael Mayer had a strong game without Brock Bowers. So I'm not really interested in picking him up. And I think Dawson Knox, we don't know the severity. I haven't seen the severity of Dalton Kincaid. I know he was questionable coming into the week, and then to me, it was kind of a surprise that he was out. I hadn't been doing a whole lot of homework on Dalton Kincaid, but it came to me as kind of a surprise he was out. The team has the bye, so I don't know if you need to pick up Dawson Knox, but just an interesting thing to note in case we get some news on Dalton Kincaid. That's not good. I don't think Dawson Knox is going to catch a touchdown every week. But it's just something to note. They use the tight end. The tight end right now is their best receiver in that offense. As far as running backs go, Bam Knight is probably available in your leagues if he didn't get picked up on Sunday when they announced he was going to be the starter. Bam Knight's rostered under 20% of leagues right now, so he could be a good RB2 for those missing James Cook or Derrick Henry this week. And then as far as anything else, there's really nothing out there that I'm just truly overly invested that I need to go pick up. And then receiver-wise, I think a very sneaky receiver to pick up right now. I talked about it on the show either Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever I did it. Christian Watson is a name that in a deeper league, I would want to have on my bench just in case for the upside. The team seems like they're pretty excited. We know he's got big play potential, and we know he's kind of a boomer bust flex wide receiver 3 when he plays, but he does give a little bit more, some downfield stuff to this team, some behind, kind of some explosive plays into this offense. So for me, Christian Watson would be the other pickup there. I do want to go into the games. So I'm going to go through the games right now specifically just because I feel like you get so much more value. Me personally, I get a lot of value after going through them. I went through them earlier, and I just want to kind of reiterate some things that I noticed throughout the games. Going through Eagles and Giants. Now, this game to me, obviously this Eagle offense is going to be tough to trust passing-wise, specifically over the course of the rest of the season, in my opinion. Saquon was banged up, but he was able to play. So I just think that in general, this is a tough game to go off of. Just know that something's off here with this Eagles offense. And then as far as like Dallas Goedert, he needs to be talked about as like a top 5-7 option. They're using him so much right now in the red zone, in the end zone, man. It's just, what do? You continue to start him. It's tough because I think there was a couple people that asked me about like Dallas Goedert versus some others, and I'm like, like Dallas Goedert was kind of a back end tight end one. It's just when they keep throwing him the football and he keeps scoring, it's tough to stop. Then as far as the Giants side of the ball, we saw Cam Scatterboo go crazy. 3 touchdowns. I don't know. A lot of people are really in on Cam Scatterboo. I'm not. I'm not as in on Cam Scatterboo long term. He kind of reminds me, like I said, a lot of just JCM. Not somebody that I think he'll have some blow up games like that, but they're using him at the goal line. And obviously, I thought Tyrone Tracy would be a little bit more involved in his return. He wasn't. So continue to start Cam Scatterboo, treat him as a high-end RB2, maybe even back-end RB1 until he proves something otherwise. As far as Denver and the Jets, this is kind of an awkward game, when we're watching it. Defensive game, and obviously, like with Bo Nix, he's a tough player to trust right now. If I had Bo Nix right now, I would be concerned, and I would be, the next time he has a big game, I would be looking to sell him because it doesn't feel like this team just does enough to win games. And that's the concern with a lot of these options, right? Like Cortland Sutton, only one catch. We see Evan Ingram get more involved. We've seen, Troy Franklin have a big week. We see Marvin Mims get a little bit more involved. We see J.K. Dobbins be featured. We see, kind of this mix with the Broncos. So I think if I had Broncos players, I'd be kind of concerned right now as far as their consistency goes. So you don't always have to worry about that. That's just something I would note, especially in matchups where the defense is better than average. Like the Jets defense is a pretty decent defense. And then as far as the Jets, Justin Fields, I would love for him to be a consistent player. He's going to lose you some weeks, though. And that's the hardest part with Justin Fields, because I think that there's some win you're weak type performances, but he will definitely, he don't have a floor like Lamar, Jaden Daniels, and that's the biggest issue, is that he has some lose you weeks as well. So that was one of them this last week, 45 yards passing. We saw Breece Hall kind of struggle. This offense just in general struggled to move. So until we see more consistency out of him, it's going to be tough to trust anything on this Jets offense until we see Garrett Wilson back. Garrett Wilson expected to miss some time dealing with a knee injury. They said he avoided something major, which is good, but definitely concerned. Josh Reynolds, another name on the receiver list, but Mason Taylor, the name to pick up here. I think he's going to get a lot more involved in this offense as the weeks kind of go on here without Garrett Wilson. All right, moving on. Sorry about the noise in the background. Y'all hear that? I'm literally out here, what I'm saying? They're working on a house behind me, which is cool. You can kind of see, the bricks. They're, laying this shit by hand. It's different. I don't know if y'all can see. I don't know. So y'all can see they're actually making that house behind me. They're, laying the brick over there. I know it's distorted, but, yeah, it's nice. It's nice views, man, but obviously loud. And the other day we heard that lady singing in the background. And then as far as Arizona and the Colts, on a Cardinals side, tough to trust, tough to judge anything right now with Kyler Murray out. So obviously Kyler Murray missing the game. Jacoby Brissett played well. We saw Marv go out with a concussion. Don't know his availability for next week. But I wouldn't look into a whole lot here unless Marv misses time. Zay Jones seemed to be the one that stepped up there. And so Zay Jones also another receiver pickup in case Marv were to miss this week. Not a long-term thing, obviously. And then Bam Knight coming in and, playing decent as well. It's tough to touch this entire backfield, but it looks like he has the slight advantage over Michael Carter as well. Amari DiMercado has completely fallen off the radar. As far as the Colts, usual suspect for the Colts, you got Daniel Jones. Michael Pittman didn't have the game we want, but we saw Josh Downs kind of take that next step. And Tyler Warren continues to be the main focal point of this. Jonathan Taylor and Tyler Warren specifically for the Colts. So nothing really on that side there. Outside of Josh Downs, might become more startable than we think moving forward. As far as the Chargers, they did not have Quentin Johnston over the weekend, and so that led to Arondé Gatson. We're talking about tight end pickups if you need a tight end. Arondé Gatson, at least as long as Quentin Johnston's out, will probably be a startable option here. Good to see Ladd McConkey get going. Keenan Allen struggled a little bit in this game. And then they play next week. I think they got the Colts next week, another tough secondary. So without Amari and Hampton, to me, that seems like it's going to go through the receiving game. But Arondé Gatson is the piece here that I wanted to talk about, because without Quentin Johnston, the team needs a bigger body. He is the bigger body receiver. And Trey Harris also with 5 targets in the game as well. I don't think they're long-term options. So hopefully that's not too loud on stream for y'all. Is that too loud on stream for y'all? But both of them bigger body options that I think will be utilized when Quentin Johnston is not available. Is that too loud for y'all? Let me know in the chat. Chat, is that too loud for y'all? That's hella. I got the AirPods on happy or whatever it is where you the noise cancellation, and that shit is hella loud in my ear right now. Is that too loud for y'all? Do I need to? I can't really find nowhere else because this is the spot I got the best internet. So if it's too loud, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep it moving. And as far as the Dolphins side, pure chaos on the Dolphins side here. I think Mike McDaniel has one more week left, and I don't know what the team's bye is, but that seems like a good time. I think they have actually a week 12 bye, if I'm not mistaken. But it's probably gonna come sooner than that. Like, I feel like the Dolphins are imploding. You know, especially with what Tua said after the game. You know, Waddle is the only safe piece on this team. Waddle and Achane, and then Darren Waller got in the end zone, so you feel like that's at least a back end tight end one option. Tua still a QB2. For me, I'm kind of I don't know. There's some offenses I really just don't want a part of, and I think the Dolphins in general are something I don't like. But I think Achane locked in, Waddle locked in wide receiver 2. I think Waller locked in back end tight end 1, high end tight end 2, and I think Tua's borderline droppable to me. Unless you're in a super flex league, I just don't see why. I don't see a reason to roster Tua. Seeing the Drake May hype as far as him being MVP worthy. I don't know about that. He's playing at a high level, though. Baker, I mean, shit, nobody's playing. Baker's playing at a crazy level. But Drake May playing at an incredible level right now against a Saints team. And the couple things here. At some point, I think, we see the play where Trevion Henderson's blocking nobody. I think that's going to go on social media. But at some point, they got to get more out of Ramondre Stevenson. Otherwise, we're going to see a changing of the guard. I've seen people advocate for dropping Trevion Henderson or maybe trading him for the low. We all know Ramondre is one fumble away. And also, I think this team will need to keep the ground game going. Just we didn't see a lot out of Ramondre this weekend. So I do think Trevion's making some rookie mistakes that make it tough for them to give him the job right now over Ramondre. But I truly believe at some point Trevion's going to get more opportunity. So if you have him right now, he's just a bench. He's somebody you have to kind of trust the process with. I would not drop him. Now, trade him is a whole different thing. If I had below a 500 record, if I had 2 wins, some buys coming up, I think Trevion could go. But if I had a team with a winning record, you're probably not overly worried about it. But if I had a team with a winning record right now, I think Trevion's a player I'd be looking to buy or hold on to. So that's how I play it with Trevion Henderson. And as far as receivers go, Kayshon Boutte with 2 touchdowns. We saw Demario Douglas get in the end zone. I don't like this receiving core at all. Kayshon Boutte, everybody's going to recommend picking him up. Demario Douglas, another name, under the radar pickup, right? And it's Stephon Diggs coming off back-to-back 100-yard games, didn't even cross the 50 marker. So very tough to trust this Patriots receiving core. I think any of them right now would probably be more of a sell candidate, except for Diggs. But I think if Diggs has a good game next week, it's like I just don't like trusting these receivers. It's been tough to trust a lot of these receiving cores. A lot of up and down play at the receiver position in fantasy this year. Spencer Rattler threw for over 220 yards. We had Chris Olave had a strong game for the Saints. But I talked about at the top of the show, the player here that's tough to trust, Alvin Kamara. I'm bumping him down back end RB2, mid-tier RB2, even though he played well fantasy-wise. I think he had 4 or 5 catches in the game. With Taysom Hill back, vulturing touchdowns, the offense does not need to go through him. Kendre Miller didn't have, a lot of touches, but it just feels like Alvin Kamara right now is a very tough player to, he's one of those players now. Do I start Alvin Kamara or Bam Knight? Which is crazy to say. Alvin Kamara, Cam Scatterboot. Alvin Kamara and a couple weeks ago, I was on Bleacher Report and I said, I think Alvin Kamara is a player worth trading for in case he gets traded. Well, the news came out he's not going to be traded. So if Alvin Kamara is on the Saints for the rest of the year, unfortunately, I don't like the way this thing's playing out. Kellen Moore is kind of getting him involved, but not to the level that we've seen Alvin Kamara in the past. And I think the one hope we had was, okay, if he got traded to a team that needed a running back, the Chargers, the Cardinals, you talk about some of those teams that needed a back, okay, well, now his value goes up. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. He kind of rejected the trade, so I think when it comes to Alvin, we just got to, I got to call it an L. We got to call it him. He's an RB2, back end to mid-tier RB2. And then moving on to the next game, we got the Browns. Not much to take away from the Browns outside of they're going to be a bad offense, especially without Joe Flacco. The tight end carousel is ugly there. Harold Fannin, you're going to talk about picking him up. David Njoku, play him. Sorry, I would want to stay away from this entire tight end thing until maybe later in the season when the Browns are out of contention. And then I think I would say, okay, Harold Fannin probably has more juice. It wouldn't shock me to see David Njoku get traded too. Like, just do right by him. He's been on this Browns team for years. Dylan Gabriel, Harold Fannin as next. That would be now a time to pick him up. So I think if I was going to have Harold Fannin as a pickup or as a player to recommend, it would need to be with David Njoku traded. And I could see that happening. I really could see that happening, especially because you already got rid of Joe Flacco. I don't know what this Browns team is doing. It's going to get ugly from the rest of the season moving forward. But as far as receivers go, we know Jerry Jeudy. Even though he had a decent day, that might be your sell opportunity. I wouldn't want to part of this Browns offense. Quinshon Judkins, don't worry about him. Worried about Quinshon Judkins after the bad game. I talked about it. He's an RB2 that needs a touchdown in order to be viable. You got to know that with him. Like, I think sometimes these guys go off and then the fantasy analysts say, hey, they're RB1s or like trust them fully. And, these trade them for Jamar Chase. It's like we got to chill on some of these guys that don't catch passes. Some of these guys that just don't catch passes, right? JCM, you got Quinshon Judkins, like Cam's got him who does catch passes, but like some of these guys that just don't have a lot of juice, we got to be very careful with recommending them as RB1s. That title is for the elite of the elite, the Bijans, the Christian McCaffreys, the Jahmyr Gibbs, the guys that can go get multiple catches, that get 100-yard games, multiple scores, like those 30-point game players. I just don't see Quinshon Judkins really being that, especially in a bad offense with the Browns. As far as the Steelers side, I think it's going to be a mediocre offense outside of DK Metcalf, Jalen Warren, RB2, Aaron Rodgers, decent day, but that's what we're going to see more of than anything. The interesting piece here, and another tight end, Darnell Washington has been kind of hit or miss. I think in your deeper leagues, it's a player worth monitoring, but not a pickup. I don't know if anybody's out there recommending him, but Darnell Washington, not a pickup. Very interesting note, Aaron Rodgers seems to like him, even more so than the other two tight ends. Dallas and Carolina, high-scoring game there. George Pickens, obviously crazy. I still think, and maybe I'm wrong on it, I still think he's a sell-high guy. Now, I don't know, because the way he's playing right now, it feels like even on 4 or 5 catches, he could be a menace. But when CD comes back, the offense goes through CD. So, I don't know, kind of a curious case because I think you can trade him at a very high level right now. There's also the potential that maybe he's more high-end wide receiver 2-ish, and Dak's able to support 2 high-end receivers. I'm going to bet against that, and I would trade him at peak value. It's just tough watching him go for, the numbers he went for over the weekend and saying, damn, like I traded George Pickens away. So that's how I play. I would be looking to sell high on George Pickens. Buy low on Javonte if you can. I don't know if a lot of people will sell but Javonte, there should be no concerns about Javonte at all. And then Ryan Florney, if you have him, if CD comes back next week, his value is all but gone. But he still did look like the 3rd best receiver on his team, 6 targets. Still looked like the next best option on this team. As far as the Carolina side goes, obviously the ground game, biggest question mark here. Rico Dowdle, if Chuba Hubbard does come back this week, they might bring him back a little bit slower. But Rico Dowdle, I never thought – I talked about this offseason. I said, hey, Rico is a guy, and, he had 1,000 yards, and he's going to eat in the shoe. I never thought it would look like this, though. And it's hard to say keep starting Rico Dowdle, but I think that's the move here until he shows something otherwise or until we see a difference with Chuba Hubbard. But even Dave Canales said we got to find a way to work Rico in, and I believe him. Probably a 50-50 split at best right now for Chuba Hubbard. I think they might even work him slower than that. Good to see Ted McMillan get into the end zone twice. Still concerns about the ceiling, but it was good to see him score twice. Seattle and Jacksonville. I think Seattle is very clearly the JSN show. And the running backs, we talked about already. Avoid the running backs, nothing new there. Jacksonville, when it comes to Brian Thomas, that buy low window is probably closed, but he's still a player I'd be buying as like a mid-tier wide receiver one, back-end wide receiver. Like he's going to have mega games. Just missed on that touchdown in that game. Trust Brian Thomas. ETN. ETN is looking less reliable by the day. And I think he also fits in that RB2 tier, not because he's the opposite of JCM and some of these other guys. I think the receiving work is what keeps him afloat. He's just not going to score a lot of touchdowns. Nothing to monitor there. Rams, Puka Nacua. Expected to miss a couple weeks with an ankle injury. Devontae Adams gets a bump up here in the meantime. I don't really see a secondary receiver worth owning on this team. Maybe Jordan Whittington could provide some value at flex if you're desperate for receiver. But I don't really see any options there. I think expect more Devontae, expect more Kyron is the wave here. And Tyler Higbee at tight end is also the play here, in my opinion, more so than like a secondary receiver. Jordan Whittington's kind of a mediocre option, in my opinion. Ravens going on a bye. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on them. Hopefully Lamar's back after the bye, and we don't have to talk about the Ravens being this weird team. Derrick Henry, I would like to think Derrick Henry bounces back, but if I had a team with a losing record, I'd be okay with shipping him off this week, especially with the bye. I think at some point he bounces back, but tough to watch Derrick Henry not have any real strong performances since week 1. God, man, this shit's like bothering me. I'm glad it's not bothering you. This shit's bothering me. All right, Titans and Raiders. Not much to pick up off here, except for the fact Brian Callahan no longer the head coach for the Tennessee Titans. I think Cam Ward's a good football player and will be. He kind of reminds me of like Aaron Rodgers, like gunslinger Brett Favre, Matthew Stafford type player. Just doesn't have enough weapons around him. Calvin Ridley potentially out next week as well, dealing with an injury. So I think it was a hammy that he caught. So I think when it comes to Elikale Manor, that's a decent pickup this week. Cam Ward's going to throw the ball to somebody. Chigakonkwo is a little bit interesting to me here, but the real play here, I think, for the Titans, and I've been talking about this over the last couple of weeks, is that on the screen, Tajay looks way more explosive right now than Tony Pollard. So if I was making a pickup list and Tajay Spears hasn't been picked up in your league, do not let him be out there. So I think in most leagues, 12-team leagues, he's probably picked up and been held on IR this whole time. Tajay Spears is going to have his opportunity soon. As far as the Raiders go, I'm curious to see what this looks like with Brock Bowers, because obviously they're holding him out till he gets right. I don't know when the Raiders' bye is. Let me check that really quickly, but it wouldn't shock me to see this team hold him out for the bye. Michael Mayer getting involved was a good thing to see. They have a week 8 bye, so they're out. So Bowers will be out until week 9. My guess is he'll be out until week 9. I don't think they bring him back next week. So Ashton Genty got the touchdown, but it still feels like he's not going to be that RB1 everybody drafted him to be. Back in RB1, high in RB2 most weeks. As far as receivers go, I mean, Jacoby's probably the better player, but Trey Tucker, I mean, until otherwise, he is the wide receiver 1. I think I mentioned that last stream. Bengals in Green Bay with Joe Flacco at quarterback. Good to see Jamar Chase get in the end zone, but it feels like Jake Browning 2.0, if I'm not. I mean, y'all feel the same way? Maybe once he gets the chemistry going, but it kind of just feels like Jake Browning 2.0. Chase Brown, still mediocre, back end RB2, high end RB3. I thought maybe he'd be a buy low, but it just looks like he might be who he is, even though he got involved in the receiving game. T. Higgins, good to see a little more volume his way, but I would expect T. Higgins to continue to be better. I think Chase Brown is who he is, so if you're looking at Chase Brown as a buy low, I don't know that he's a buy low, but I don't think he's a drop. And Joe Flacco, I think he does enough to hold Chase and T. Higgins value. I'd kind of be buying low on T. Higgins. I'm not going to lie. I'd buy low on T. Higgins. And as far as Green Bay side, I think with Josh Jacobs getting in the end zone twice, seeing Jordan Love, this offense has all the potential in the world to be even better than than it has been. Coming out of the bye, one thing I know we're going to see, Matthew Golden is the wide receiver 1 on this team, and I hope you had a chance to If you can take advantage right now of his projected points, because on most platforms, he's projected for under 10 points weekly. But I talked about him having the freest on the show. I know y'all remember it. I talked about him having the freest over 20 longest reception. We're going to continue to see it. They're going to take chances with him. And I think it's only going to get more dynamic once you add Jaden Reed into the fold and you add Christian Watson into the fold. Christian Watson expected to be back this next week. I think Jaden Reed's expected to be back in the next 3 to 4 weeks. I think the receiver I'd want to have for Green Bay receivers, I would for sure want to have Matthew Golden. Next up, I think Jaden Reed and Christian Watson are probably going to eat into each other's workload a little bit, kind of do some of the same things. And then Romeo Doubs is the wide receiver 3 just because the touchdown volume, he had a lot of targets this last weekend. Was it 9 targets this last weekend? But the touchdown volume is there for Romeo Doubs. Pecking order, as of right now, I think it's, for me, and this is kind of a cop-out, but I'm going to give it to you straight. I think it's a 1A for Matthew Golden based on the yardage. I think it's 1B for Doubs with the receiving touchdown-wise floor. And then I think it's a 2A Jaden Reed, 2B Christian Watson. That's how I got it. I think I'd have Golden. I think he has the highest upside, and I would value him the highest. But I do think Doubs has a place in this offense as their red zone guy. I think next up we get the explosiveness of Jaden Reed and Christian Watson, but we also get the volatility of both of those guys having like 2 catch for 20 yards with 1 rush for 8 yards. Whereas I think they are going to continue to try with Matthew Golden. They're going to continue to feed Romeo Doubs in the red zone. The player I think drops the furthest once Christian Watson is back and Jaden Reed is back is actually Tucker Kraft, who I think a lot of people are going to value right now as a top 3-ish, top 4 to 5-ish tight end, somewhere in that range. And I think in this receiving core, he is going to be the one that suffers the most because of the available options Jordan Love will have. So Jordan Love already is a willing passer. He'll throw it to anybody, so it's going to make it tough to recommend the Packers receivers as more than like wide receiver 3s on a consistent basis anyways. That's the order I have, and I kind of think we see a little less Tucker Kraft once we get more Christian Watson, more Jaden Reed. And once Matthew Golden starts getting better. Was it 3 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown, I want to say it was? Do I have that right? For Tucker Kraft? Or do I have that wrong? I'll be going off. Hey, sorry. Sometimes I'll be going off the head and not knowing the numbers. It was 2 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown. So that's how I got it right now. Receiving core. Golden and Doubs. Then Christian Watson, or then Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, when Jaden Reed gets back. And I think, like I said, I bumped down a little bit for Tucker Kraft. I think that was the last of the afternoon games, right? No, was that the last afternoon game? Yeah. Then we had the Niners and Tampa Bay. Mac Jones, another 350-yard day. Like, we just got to see when Brock Purdy gets back, obviously things change, but Mac Jones is a QB2, high-end QB2. Until Brock Purdy gets back, he fits the system really well. Kendrick Bourne, a high-end wide receiver 2, maybe back-end wide receiver 1 at times with Kendrick Bourne, man. But at least a high-end wide receiver 2 until we see Ricky Pearsall on the field. But Ricky Pearsall, I think he's expected back. George Kittle is expected back week 7. I'm not sure about Ricky Pearsall yet, but I think he's expected back here in the next week as well. Brock Purdy, I think he's on the way back. So until we see this thing look with how it looks with the starters, Christian McCaffrey obviously continues to be the RB1, safest floor in football, maybe besides Bijan Robinson, those two. But yeah, normal options for the Niners until we see this thing back. If Ricky Pearsall comes back, I'm taking Kendrick Bourne completely off the board, especially if Mac Jones is not the starter and Brock Purdy starts. And I think we need to realign this whole thing once Kittle comes back, because Kittle's such a vital part of the offense along with Christian McCaffrey. Kendrick Bourne would definitely be a sell if I could get him off the roster in any way. Mac Jones off the roster in any way in a trade. If not, I think Mac Jones probably going to revert back to a drop. And then Brock Purdy, I think Brock Purdy might be a buy low candidate. You might be able to get Brock Purdy at cheap prices. Somebody may have even dropped Brock Purdy in your league. Like, that's a player I think has more value than like the market value on him is just so low until we see him back on the field. I know he re-injured himself, but once that turf toe is able to heal, if he's able to heal, with Pearsall, with Kittle, with McCaffrey, with Juwan Jennings back now, with Kendrick Bourne emerging as a weapon, I think we have a little bit more there. And as far as the Tampa Bay side, it does not matter for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield. I mean, we were all too low on Baker. I was definitely too low on Baker this year. But doing it with no receivers, just making it fucking happen. I love Baker Mayfield. I've become a Baker fan over the years. Talking about pickups, so I think with the team having a bye, what we say, week 9, it was a bye. Team having a bye, I can see them holding out Bucky Irving through the bye, him coming back week 10. I can see them holding out Chris Godwin through the bye, especially both of those two being announced out right now, week 7 already for Monday Night Football. I can see both of those guys coming back after the bye. Mike Evans I think he's expected to return this week, so they need him in the receiving corps. If not, we will see Tez Johnson, we'll see the other Johnson, Cameron Johnson, and then we also see Sterling Shepard. So Cade Otton, all those guys kind of profile as risky flex options, receiving corps-wise. I think Tez Johnson would have the most upside in the next week or two if Mike were to miss. I think Sterling Shepard is the one I'd want floor-wise. I really wouldn't want Cameron Johnson at all. And then Cade Otton gets kind of a side move up for me as well. And then, like I said, Rachaad White, as long as Bucky's out, Rachaad White, continue to trust him as a back-end RB1 with more upside. Sunday night game, business as usual for the Detroit Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs, St. Brown. Good to see J-Mo get back on track. I don't know if I believe it, though. J-Mo, I want to see one more performance like that out of J-Mo in the next 2 weeks before I start recommending him for lineups again. I really like J-Mo, but it was good to see him bounce back. But I just think he's still going to be a volatile piece in that offense. I don't believe it. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery, it was just bad game script-wise. Chiefs got up. I just think it was bad game script. And then as far as the Chiefs go, we get Rashee Rice back next week. And I know everybody wants to put him top 5. I have a strange feeling he's going to be more top 10 to 12-ish. Maybe I'm just lower on Rashee Rice than I should be because I've never been the same as the fantasy community on Rashee Rice. He will be back, and I do think he's locked in top 12 value. The way that the Chiefs speak about him, the way this offense really needs him. But I do have some, I don't know. I don't think he's top 5. And like I said, I will be proven wrong very quickly on Rashee Rice. I think we'll know out the gate what Rashee Rice's role is for our fantasy teams. If we got receiver 1 production, or maybe it's going to be slower. Like we saw Hollywood Brown get in the end zone twice. We saw Xavier Worthy getting in. We know Kelsey's a part of the offense. Like it just feels like Mahomes is spreading this thing out instead of taking like those deep shots, or just force feeding up the slot, up the seams. Like it feels like he's just taking what the defense is giving him, using his legs a lot more. So I don't know. Tyquan Thornton has been used downfield. There's just a lot here with this Chiefs offense. So I want to see what it looks like week 7. Obviously, he goes in your lineups. I think Worthy goes in your lineups. And then you can kind of steer clear of Hollywood Brown. I don't think he's a pickup. He's still a bench option. And then Kelsey might get a bump down too with Rashee Rice back. And then interesting to see Pacheco lead the team in carries. I don't know. This Chiefs offense, it just feels like they're taking whatever the defense gives them. As far as Buffalo goes, don't read too much into that. Atlanta defense has been tough. I think they'll be better. They got to get a receiver, though. Wouldn't it be shocking to see them trade for a receiver? They're just not getting what they need out of Keon Coleman. Khalil Shakir's been kind of mediocre, and then Dalton Kincaid being out. They have a bye this week. I wouldn't read too much into that performance. James Cook was kind of average, had some good chunk plays, but we haven't seen the James Cook we did to start the year. As far as the Falcons side go, left a lot to be desired after the first half there, but Drake London, Bijan Robinson, those guys are elite. Kyle Pitts, probably a drop at this point. And then Michael Penix, I thought he would have a much better day, especially with the way that first half went. Didn't get that elite performance I was expecting, unfortunately. Still, I think he has upside, and he's already had his bye, which is a good thing for the Falcons. So he's already had his bye. I don't know if Kyle Pitts is quite a drop, but there's so many tight ends out there. That's kind of why I'm okay with dropping him if needed. As far as the Bears go, don't panic on Rome Odunze. I know he had a bad performance. He's still elite. So if you're wondering, is he not an elite player now coming out of the bye? He could have had that touchdown. I would still be in on Rome Odunze. Don't think that he's not elite. Caleb looks like a QB1 moving forward. DeAndre Swift, good to see him have a strong performance. So I know there was some Kyle Mungenai stuff coming off the bye. If he's going to be good, more involved, obviously DeAndre Swift is the guy. And then Luther Burden did get some more looks. So there was talks about him having an elevated role. I've seen some Colston Loveland love. I don't really see that still, especially after last night. But Luther Burden, especially, we don't know what's going on with DJ Moore. He was admitted to the hospital last night, and I guess there's going to be some kind of announcement made later today. I haven't seen an update on that, so if anybody has an update on DJ Moore, throw it in the chat. But Luther Burden obviously would be another receiver pickup, probably flex wide receiver 3-ish, boomer bust play, but could be a secondary target here in this offense. I want to see what the news is for DJ Moore, and then I would be able to recommend Luther Burden further. If we get news that DJ Moore is something happened with him a little bit more serious than we thought, then I would put Luther Burden as like a wide receiver 3 for the time that DJ Moore is out. And I think Rome Odunze would also get a bump up, unfortunately. So, and then Cole Kmet continues to be a strong, strong like tight end 2-ish type play, in my opinion. I don't think, not strong, but a tight end 2 option, I would say, with Colston Loveland. I just don't think Colston Loveland's there. So, and I don't think really Cole Kmet's there either. I don't think Cole Kmet even had a target in the game. So, and then on the Washington side, obviously Jaden Daniels, elite. JCM, some concerns about Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt because he did not have a touchdown, because he doesn't get work in the receiving game. Just know that he's an RB2. And I want to see, hopefully, Terry McLaurin can get back. It's been kind of weird to not see Terry McLaurin on the field. He's been, like, questionable and just not – I don't know why he's not available. But Luke McCaffrey. Talked about Luke McCaffrey. All right. Let me know if you guys have any other waiver wire questions, any other questions about the games themselves. I'm going to try to get through these other questions that came in. Pat's defense is start with the Titans coach fired. Yeah, I think anybody against the Titans can go in. Definitely Pats. I like Tez out of the Bucs receivers. Not mad at that. EA hates us. Not mad at that. JN, appreciate you, fam. Got you, Michael. Would you move Etienne Olave for James Cook? Etienne Olave for James Cook. I feel like it's kind of heavy, but I would do it. The only thing is he has a bye, especially in half point. I think that's a decent move because you get the up and down nature of Etienne. Olave's just been good, though. He hasn't been great. I think if I had the depth and you could eat that week next week, I think I would do James Cook. Just got my first win of the season because Patrick Mahomes, Cam Scatterville, and Drake London went off. Good job, bro. There was some big performances this week. 3-3, 12-man. Who are some good targets? You got Bijan, JCM, Henderson, Algier, Benson at running back, Ted, Ladd. I like your squad right now. I think you got enough upside. Hopefully, I just went over all the games. Hopefully, there was something in there gem-wise that stuck out to you as far as trade targets. But I think you're good right now. You don't really have to make – I think trading has become this thing where we talk about buy low, sell high. You don't always need to trade. Like, this team looks like you have enough. You're 3-3. Maybe your RB2 could be better, but you already won without Bijan a week. You have Benson on IR for more upside. You know Travion, JCM. You got some upside there youth-wise. You have Ladd and Mike. Ladd's playing better. Mike's coming back. You have Goddard, who's been pretty safe. Downs have been playing better. Tet has been playing well. So I don't really think and you got Daniel Jones at quarterback. I don't really think you need – unless you're getting a superstar and you're trading away like Josh Downs and, Henderson or Josh Downs and JCM – Josh Downs and Benson for like maybe a slight upgrade somewhere. I don't know. I just don't really feel like you need to do a whole lot. This team looks good to me. I have Josh Allen, Barkley, Hall, 5-1 now. Is that a separate? Oh, that was a separate question. With James Cook, yeah, you can go get James Cook with that team. BTJ, Mike Evans, and St. Brown. Yeah, you're good, bro. Those are the kind of moves you can make. How do you think Reed is going to be when he comes back? What do you think? I talked about Reed. I think he's going to have I think he'll be the best of the secondary receivers between him and Christian Watson. He's just going to have a tough time being consistent. Breakout guys with McCaffrey, Ellick, and Kayshawn. I would go Ellick with as far as with Ridley being out. I don't really like any of them too much. I think Luke is good when Terry's out right now. And then Kayshawn is just going to be too tough to trust on a weekly basis. I think that receiving core for the Pats, too up and down to trust. Picked ATL and Shy to win last night in my pick 'em. I led the league last night. Good job, bro. You got 10 right? Good job, bro. Very good job. 10 picks that's out of 14? It was 10 out of 14. Was it 15 this week? 15 games this week? Good job. Mason Taylor or Fannin for the next couple weeks? Ooh. I think Taylor is the one I'd want just because I know he's probably going to be the primary target for the Jets. I just don't know how well they're going to move the ball downfield without Garrett Wilson. Fannin just, like I said, until we see David Njoku gone, we're going to see Njoku play a role, Fannin play a role. I talked about this last week. Fannin, Njoku. I think they're just playing the matchups and probably whoever's open. I just don't really think. I think if Fannin's going to hit, it's going to be a David Njoku move. Mason Taylor is going to hit. It's going to be just the amount of time that Garrett Wilson's out. Sent Rice for London 2 weeks ago. Also got 2 26 picks. Oh, good job, bro. Good job. So you got London and picks for Rashee Rice? Great job. Would you move Adams, Tucker Craft for BTJ Kittle? Thank you. Moves Adams and Tucker Craft for BTJ and Kittle. Yeah, I do that. I would do that. I would get BTJ and Kittle. For sure. Thoughts on Rashee Rice? I talked about Rashee Rice. I think Rashee Rice has the upside. I think he's more top 10, 12-ish than I do top 5-ish. And I'll be wrong on that. That's fine. But that's what I think. I think with the amount of receivers that they have in Kansas City right now, I think the volume would have to be – he would have to be like 10 targets a game, 8 to 10 targets a game because there's some elite guys at the top this year. So, I don't know. I mean, we saw the volume at the top of last year, and he has a lot of confidence that he thinks he's the best receiver in the league. I actually watched he did an interview with somebody. I can't remember who the interview was, but he thinks very highly of his output for the year. So maybe I'm just off on Rashee Rice. Great to see you too, Guadalupe. Appreciate you. Diggs could have had a better game if he don't get that PI. Yeah, we can always say that about a lot of receivers though too on the deep ball, but like I just think in general, these Pats receivers are tough to trust. 2-man, 2-4, 10-man, flex, Gibbs. Any more moves I should make? Hurts, Gibbs, Bucky, Gentry. No, you're 2-4, 10-team league. So you lost Bucky for a while, lost Garrett Wilson, the receivers, you lost Ridley, Bourne, you got Kamani Vidal. Maybe flipping one of these running backs, go flip Bucky to like a team that has a winning record and try to get a receiver. Or Kendrick Bourne, same thing. So I would be looking to flip. I mean, you probably could flip Drake May too or Jalen Hurts, one of the two. So I would get active when it comes to trades as far as a secondary receiver because right now you got Drake and Higgins. I think Drake is good there, but I definitely think you can afford to move, and you have 2 flex. I think you can afford to move one of your backs and to get a stronger receiver. I think you can afford that. So only thing is you got to get through buys, but like Gibbs, Bucky, Genty, I would be trying to flip Vidal. Kamani Vidal, probably Bucky. To get wins now. You need some wins. All right, guys, and I know I saw a lot more questions coming, but this is going to be the last one for me today. 3-3 at Fields Love, HN, Bam Knight. I didn't see the question coming. This looks solid. I think the lineup looks solid. But listen, y'all, hey, I'm about to get out of here. I got, like I said, I'm going to be going to a football game tonight. I didn't see anybody guess it in the chat, but I'm going to be going to a football game. So I'll post about it on my stories on IG. I'll be back tomorrow or Thursday to go over the games. I think I might do Thursday again. I'll be doing a little bit of traveling here. I'll be out of Portugal very soon. No, I'll have to do it tomorrow. But I don't know. I'll try to do game-by-game stuff. Maybe Thursday or maybe even Friday. I might have to do it after the Thursday game. I'll get back to you guys. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I will try to do a game-by-game something. But for the most part, if you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm trying to get a couple videos out here too. A lot busier, like I said. I apologize. A lot busier than I thought this year, guys. But hopefully you guys will still find value, still winning your leagues. And I'll see you guys soon. I'm going to try to get to you guys tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow morning, early in the morning, like a little earlier, maybe at night for you guys, morning for me. So until next time, peace out, y'all.